in my view, I think we have been far too easy in terms of our response to what the people on Wall Street have done. It is beyond my comprehension that we did not begin an investigation weeks or at least months after the financial meltdown and ask what the cause of that meltdown was, who was responsible, hold them accountable, and if they broke the law, they deserve to find out what the American penal system is all about. Second of all, in terms of real financial reform, I am more than aware that Congress has passed legislation trying to bring more transparency and integrity to the credit card industry. We have all witnessed, all of us have received those prospectus from credit card companies telling you they're going to, if you just sign on the bottom line, you're going to get 0 interest rates credit. They literally have sent out billions of these prospectus every single year. And meanwhile, in tiny print on page 4, it appears that they could raise their rates to any level they wanted for any reason that they wanted. Well, we've begun to deal with that, but we have not gone far enough. Mr. President, when major institutions, major financial institutions are charging American people 29% interest rates on their credit cards, 30% interest rates, in terms of payday lending, 40, 50% interest rates, we got to call it for what it is. That is loan sharking. Another issue that I think we have to deal with is this phenomenon of too big to fail. The reason that we provided hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in bailouts to Wall Street is that the experts believe, the Secretary of Treasury and the head of the Fed believed, that if we allowed these huge financial institutions to fail, they would bring down the entire system. Well, that was a year ago. And maybe you know more than I do, but I'm not aware that we have taken any steps to begin breaking up these large financial institutions. If they were too big to fail a year ago, they're too big to fail right now. And in fact, what we have seen, and there have been a number of articles on this, is that these huge financial institutions, if anything, in the last year have become even larger. Now, what sense is that? Look, the bottom line is, these people on Wall Street are by and large concerned about one thing, and that is making as much money as they possibly can for themselves, and they have done phenomenally well in that regard. Some years ago, 25% of all of the profits in America went to Wall Street, which has relatively few people. And obviously, as I think everybody knows, you had hedge fund guys making $1 billion in a year, CEOs of these institutions making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They have done very, very well. That's what they do. They don't care that manufacturing is disintegrating in America, that millions of workers have lost their manufacturing jobs. They don't care that small businesses can't get credit. They don't care about trying to build a productive economy where our working people are producing real products that people can consume. That's not where these guys are at. They are at it for one reason, short-term gains. And if anyone believes otherwise, I think you don't understand history. So I think we have got to set out a number of rules by which they have got to play by, or else we're looking to bring back exactly what we just went through. Another issue that I think we have to deal with as we get to financial reform is the Fed. I am a member of the Budget Committee, and last year, when Mr. Bernanke, chairman of the Fed, came before the committee, I asked him very simply if he could tell me which financial institutions were the recipients of some $2 trillion in zero-interest loans. Now, during the financial crisis, Mr. Bernanke and the Fed provided $2 trillion, that's with the T, not a million, not a billion, $8 trillion, $2 trillion to large financial institutions. I asked them a pretty simple question, I think, as a United States Senator. Can you please tell me which financial institutions received that money? I don't think that's a terribly radical question, putting $2 trillion of taxpayers' money at risk. And he said, no, can't tell you, can't tell you. Well, on that particular day, I introduced legislation that would make him tell us. Because I think it is beyond comprehension that we are putting at risk trillions of dollars going to institutions, and we don't know who they are, we don't know what kind of conflicts of interest exist, we don't know what the terms of payment are. There is another issue that we want to deal with, and that is oil speculation. I come from a cold weather state. Many people heat with oil. And obviously, all over this country, people are filling up their gas tanks to get to work. And we have reason to believe that one of the causes of the volatility in oil prices has to do with speculation coming from Wall Street, where our friends there are investing in oil futures. And I think we have got to begin to control that speculation so that people are not paying outrageous prices, heating their homes in the winter or filling up their gas tanks. And lastly, the issue of Wall Street, in one sense, is not radically different from the issue of health care or many other important issues, and that is the power, the incredible power that these special interests have. Mr. President, the banking and insurance industries have spent over $5 billion on campaign contributions and lobbying activities over the past decade in support of deregulation, and they are spending even more to try to prevent Congress from seriously regulating their industries. The American people want change. They want Congress to reform Wall Street. They want those people who caused this economic crisis to be held accountable. They want to make sure that we prevent us from ever going into a situation like we were in last year. Whether we can do it remains to be seen, given the power of Wall Street and the incredible amounts of money they spend on campaign contributions and on lobbying. So, Mr. President, I just did want to say a word as to my perception of why the American people are angry, the fact that they have every reason in the world to be angry, because in our great country, what we are seeing for the first time in our lifetimes is the real likelihood that our kids will have a lower standard of living than our generation. And that is not something that we should be happy about. We have got to ask the questions why. We have got to ask what policies contributed to that decline of the middle class, that increase in poverty. We have to ask why we are the only country in the world that doesn't have a national health care program guaranteeing health care to all people, why we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth, why we have the greatest gap between the rich and everybody else of any major country on earth. We've got to ask those questions. And we need to stand up to powerful special interest in bringing about the kinds of reforms that we need. Thank you very much, Mr. President.